I built this from my bed just to prove my mind still worked. That's exactly where Rachel found herself, and what she built next changed everything.
Welcome to Rise to Lead, where unique perspectives redefine leadership.
Welcome to Rise to Lead. I am super delighted today to welcome Rachel Garcia-Kessel, who happens to be a client of mine. Rachel, it's so awesome to have you on.
Thank you. I'm so excited. And thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Yes, I was so looking forward to this conversation, and I know it's going to be great,
Thank you.
Yeah, so Rachel is the founder of Legacy Bunker, a media platform exploring culture, storytelling, and emerging narratives in entertainment and technology. She's also the brand manager and co-executive producer of Tales of a Latina, where she brings powerful conversations to the forefront. With a background in corporate operations and her own experience navigating long-term health challenges, Rachel leads with a unique blend of structure, creativity, and purpose-driven storytelling. Rachel, let's do this.
Oh my good, that intro was so nice. I didn't realize that was me. Like I was like, wow, she sounds really cool. And then I'm like, whoa.
It's you. Own it. So, in a few words, tell us what led up to you becoming an entrepreneur and creating Legacy Bunker. And maybe you also want to tell us quickly what that is.
Sure. So Legacy Bunker came from being sick. So I had, some health struggles to the point where I had brain fog. And if you know me, but I'm a super nerd. I'm very technical. And when I realized that I couldn't remember how to open an Excel file, that's when I realized something was really, really wrong. And, during my recovery process, I had to cut ties with my former employer. Shout out to them. Still love them with all my heart. And I wanted to make sure that I still knew how to think and function. And I that's really where Legacy Bunker, began. It began as an idea, a space where I just wanted to save information that I wanted, the way I wanted to, without any filters, my truth or what I think truth is, whether it's pop culture history or my own. And I just wanted a place to store all that and be able to share it as a time capsule one day in the future. And then as I was building it, I realized, wait a minute, I could add people on here too to do the same thing. And that's really what it is. Now, when people ask me, what is it really? I'm still figuring it out. All I know is that I was sick in bed and I was saying to myself, okay, I like somewhere to store information for a long time. I like a place that if people want to comment on their experiences about a topic, they can do it here, or even if it's my own self account. And I just kept building and building. And now that it's officially launched, and this is the first time I'm actually saying it publicly, because it is out, it came out this week.
So cool.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the hell did I build? I know it's amazing. I just have to just figure out a way for it to make a lot of sense. And so far, the couple of people that I have sent it to, including um my business partner, Catherine Nunez, she's like, this is gonna be great, like in entertainment. This is what's needed in storytelling. So I'm really looking forward to it. And if you're listening to this today, then you're one of the first to hear about something that's going to be extremely magical when it comes out.
Right. And I had a look already too. I was privileged to have a look. So yeah, it looks awesome. You
Thank
took
you
the
so much.
lead. You did something amazing with your situation. And you said to me at some point, I remember that you basically built it mostly at night.
Yes. So when I was recovering, I had, suffering from from a lot of insomnia. What meds can take how meds can take a toll on you. And the fact that I had to separate from my employer, it was a lot mentally on me. And I had some major surgeries. And I was up at night And instead of just like doomsday scrolling or, getting myself all panicked about other things that are happening in the world, which who knows if they're even really happening in the world, right? I was like,
Right.
let me see if I can actually like creatively build something, but build something the way I want to build, but also do I still have the mental capacity to do that? Because I started to second guess my own intelligence when I was sick. And that was the worst thing. So instead of just me, and trust me, I had my share of cries, my share of therapy sessions about it. But what I did was I tried to take that anxiety, because anxiety and energy, it's all the same thing. It's just how you kind of want to like distribute it. So I really did my best to take that energy, even if it was at night, and slowly build something that, was creative, but almost felt architectural. Like these are all things I've always wanted to do in my life. And I was like, okay, now I have a chance to do it. Let me see. The worst that can happen is it just doesn't happen. And sure enough, it's very here.
Yes, it is. So you channeled your anxiety and you turned it into excitement. I
Yes.
love it. I love it.
And
And
I
that's
learned,
also how
and I
I
don't
know.
mean, and I don't mean to cut you off, Regina, but I learned that from you.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, because you used to always tell me about that. You knew about my anxiety since day one, and but you would always tell me to just try to like put it into something purposeful, something that will serve me. And that's exactly what I did. So even though we were disconnected for a while and I wasn't well and I was just trying to like figure out like if I'm okay, like there's many things that always resonated with me that I learned through you, and that was one of them. So I wanted to make that point.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Welcome.
glad it's stuck because it's so important. It's a really great way of taking what you have in terms of feelings or emotions and using them because they are really just an indicator and something that we can all work with, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so you showed great leadership there
Thank
and
you.
also just to lead yourself out of the health challenge, which I know was major. And we don't need to go into all the details, but I know it was a very challenging time for you.
Absolutely.
And there was a point when you really were like hanging from a cliff, right?
I really was. I really was. And I first and foremost, I'm just thankful to God, because that he got me through it. But also my family, my husband, my daughter, my dad, countless days in the hospital, just worry, just seeing me in a way that just wasn't fair. But they were so supportive and so loving, and they're so excited for me, for what I have building now. Trust me, at first I beat myself up for a long time. I worked for major financial institutions for 18 years. I was in leadership. I did many things in the D&I space. I did a lot. And, having to stop that and then kind of not know what you're going to do, even though I think I knew what I was going to do the whole time when I think about it now. I was worried. Am I a disappointment? Am I an underachiever? Like I really had this self doubt. And my family thought quite the opposite. They thought, they're like, you're a fighter. You're the strongest person that we know. You're so intelligent, and now you're building something that you built from bed while you were sick with IVs and they all these different things in you. So when I look back, I am proud of myself, and I need to say that out loud. And I can't wait for my therapist to see this clip, because I will clip this for her.
Okay.
And shout out to my therapist and my psychiatrist. I don't care. I'm shouting them out. But, that's something that I lack so much is self empathy. And I had to make sure that, you know, I say that out loud and I celebrate that I am proud of myself.
Yes, and recognition, self-recognition. That I would say is really, really important. And we were working on this too in the past, right? Because
Yes.
because it's not coming out of nowhere. We have been carrying these things for a long time in our lives, usually. And it's not like, oh, all of a sudden there is this lack of self-recognition. No, it's been there in its own way, and oftentimes subconsciously or whatever, and we don't always know where it's coming from. Because I know that you have a very supportive family
Yes.
network, right? You have a supportive husband and daughter who I both had the pleasure of meeting online, right?
Yes. Yes.
And a supportive dad, a lovely, strong family that held it together for you when it mattered most. And this is really, really cool. Now, how have your health challenges then reshaped the way you make decisions or you show up as a leader in and of your life or in any other sense?
I think what I've learned mostly is setting boundaries.
Okay.
That was something that we've talked about a lot. And but I was in a position where it was very hard to do so. And by boundaries, I don't only mean in the workplace, I even mean separating work from home. Because I would bring my work home and it would change the dynamic of my household, but it changed me too. And it was really sad because I felt like I was never escaping like the work matrix and to get back into
Yeah.
like my reality. And I think in terms of leadership, that's something that I used to always, when I would work with people, mentor them, develop them, I would always tell them to do these things. But I admittedly struggled to practice what I preached there. And, but through illness and through recovery, I've learned to set boundaries. I've learned to set my time, but I'm also in the opportunity, like, I'm grateful to be in an opportunity where I can do that right now. Um, but also, let's say down the road, I end up doing something different. At least I know that I'm capable of doing it and I have no excuses anymore. So,
Right.
yeah.
So you've proven it to yourself. Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes, I remember when you were working from home, right? When we met for, well, not all the time, but partly at least.
Yes.
And it's hard to really delineate, okay, what is office work, what is home, when, where does it end, where does it start? So that's one of the challenges of working from home. And of course, you also working from home as an entrepreneur, but I think that might just feel different to you right now. Is that
Oh,
true?
yeah. Absolutely. Because I worked in financial institutions and it was more, people, system, process, deadlines, everything was, even though I didn't necessarily have the most routine day, but there was some sort of repetition to what I needed to do. Whereas it's a little different now. So now, and as I'm also recovering, I'm trying to figure out a routine and get back to a routine. And I think what's really helped me with that is working with Catherine Nunez and working with Tales of a Latina, because when you're doing brand management, when you're producing, when you're working with talent, you have to be able to adapt to certain schedules, going back to meetings and things of that nature. So I appreciate that much because that makes me feel like, okay, I can still do these things that I haven't done in a while. And like I'm still capable of managing that, managing expectations. So yeah, it's definitely different. But now that I have Legacy Bunker out and now that I am established, with Tales of a Latina, I feel like a routine is slowly coming back into rhythm, even though I have my challenges still, because you know what, things happen with health. But at the end of the day, I try to work ahead so that I'm not too far behind. And if I feel that I'm behind for any reason, I'm transparent as to, what that is. But then I'll set an expectation for myself to, still, um, to still, what's the word I'm trying to think? To still make sure that I accomplish that deliverable.
Right, exactly. So you have that freedom to determine though what that looks like, at least to a
Right.
certain extent, while working with other people, making it work with other people, and communicating in that sense, right? Because sometimes it's
Absolutely.
just a matter of communication, just letting other people know what's going on. And you have had to redefine leadership and what all that means to you, right, through both personal and professional transitions. So, what does leadership look like for you today that it maybe didn't before?
So to me, leadership now is leading myself versus
Hmm.
other people.
Yeah,
So, being an entrepreneur, it's like now I have to lead and develop myself, evaluate myself, give myself reviews. And I might not do it in the structured way that you do it in corporate, but I'm doing it to myself. And I'm like, wow, sometimes I'm like, ouch, like there's some things I got to work on. That's a hard pill to swallow, but that's part of the process of developing yourself and, just getting to the place where you want to get to. So I think that's the major change is that I'm leading more self, but also being an entrepreneur, I get to lead my home better and manage my home better and be more
interesting.
present, which is, a beautiful thing, being able to be supportive of my husband and any goals and aspirations he has or my daughter and just being able to be more part of developing that type of plan versus an employee that I may have had. So I think, for a while I kind of looked down on the concept of leadership because I was just going through so much, but now I realize that wow, leadership can be fun if you want it to be. And I think that's where I am right now in my life,
Yes, and it can be defined by you what it actually means.
which makes it even cooler.
Right. Exactly. So, starting a media brand from the ground up sounds really exciting, right? But what's the part no one talks about that actually determines whether it's gonna work? And I know you're at the beginning, but
Yes.
you're already beyond the vision, though.
Yes, I am. So you want to know like how that started or
Yeah, well, what in your eyes, what determines whether it's working or it's gonna work? And
feedback?
then of course, yes, you will
Oh, cool.
learn more as you move along, but and as you see it right now.
Yeah, as I see it right now with branding, reaching out to brands or opportunities that I know a lot of people that are already established in the industry are also trying to, grab at as well. Like even getting responses, whether it's a yes or no, or we're looking into it. I think just the fact that I'm getting responses from people that I wouldn't think I would get responses to me already is means that I'm headed in the right direction. I think it means that my pitch is right, but also I think coming from corporate, business writing is a pivotal part of the role and that type of communication. And I think that, using that approach with branding, and maybe others do it, maybe others don't, but I always present myself very professionally, very corporate. And I think that helps get responses back, to be honest.
Yeah, talking about corporate, you were in corporate operations
Yes.
in finance, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And so how has that structure helped or maybe even conflicted with building something creative now? And you've given us an example of something that has helped. Is there anything that might be conflicting, or is there anything else that's been particularly valuable?
I think the only conflicting is timing. So I come from an environment, not to say that what I'm doing in branding and in production isn't fast paced because it really is, but I think it's just culturally everything was market deadline, like everything was very deadline focused and on a daily basis, whereas now it's not. So if I don't get certain responses timely, or if I feel like timing should be a lot faster than it is, I have to learn from my peers that no, it's a bit different in this industry, or it's a bit different with what you're doing, so I think for me it's just the timing of like when deliverables need to be met is a little bit of a change or a challenge that I'm slowly starting to adjust to.
Okay, great. So let's talk about storytelling. I know it's a big part of it.
Yes, it is.
Where do you, a lot of people talk about storytelling, right? But I know you have your own twist on it because everybody does, and I know you also.
Right.
So,
Yep.
where do you see it actually changing outcomes in the world, in business, in culture, in wherever?
So I think true storytelling is a dying art. I see storytellers storytelling through AI, and I'm not trying to like knock AI. We all use it for certain things, but I think that, you don't really see people telling their story from like an honest standpoint because they are fear of judgment, or they're in fear that they're going to insult someone or feel like they're being insensitive to someone. And I think people are really scared to talk right now because it's hard to talk about stuff without someone getting like offended or upset. And at the same time, I think creatively, just with the emergence of AI and the technology behind it, and the fact that it can literally be your voice, it can literally be you if you want it to be, I think it's taking away the true essence and authenticity of storytelling. And that's why I built Legacy Bunker, because I want to make sure that whoever's on there, whether you're a creator, a subscriber to it, that when you're telling your story, sharing your story, or chiming in on a story, I want to know that you're a real person that can like truly like validate what you're saying without it, being fake, because a lot out there is fake. I've been studying pop culture ever since I was a child. I've loved pop culture. I've loved history. I loved reading encyclopedias as a kid. Like I was always reading um beyond what was being taught in school, because I lived with a family of storytellers themselves. And, if I would tell them that I was learning about an aspect of history, they would tell me things that weren't in the book. So I'm like, you know what? I want to seek my own information. So I would started reading, and I started reading at 3. So I started reading really early in life too.
Hmm.
And, I realized that if that's how it was when I was a kid and it was watered down, can you imagine how much watered down it is now? And that's why I encourage people. People send me posts all the time about different things. And I'm like, okay, but did you actually read the background? Do you know that what you're reading is true or looking at is true? And do you realize that it's a robot voice behind it, like telling the
Right.
story? So I think, that's what, Legacy Bunker, I think, will truly be about. But that's also why I work with Catherine Nunez and Tales of Latina, because these are, Latinx voices that are truly telling their stories, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, controversial. They don't care. It's an unfiltered show for people to be holistically themselves. And that's what I absolutely love about the show. And I think that's why Catherine and I have such a great partnership, because she's building that platform of storytelling, and I'm building a home for storytelling. So I feel like our connection and our partnership is organic. And I think also ours, Regina, same thing, because we're both about truth, authenticity, what's purposeful, what serves us. That is all like part of the bunker. So I think that, I'm really grateful for all the connections and all the relationships that I've made over the years, even throughout times where I felt very distracted by like societal pressures, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it was so great, by the way, to meet in person finally the other day
Yes.
after all these years of working together or being in touch
Absolutely.
and whatnot, right?
That was so
And
much fun.
and I'm so grateful also for the article you wrote recently that was
Thank
titled,
you.
let me look it up, The Coach I Met the Day and My Life Broke
Broke
Open. And
open.
I'm
Broke
so
open.
honored to be featured in the article. I mean, it's just been such a pleasure working with you and seeing your your whole, development and progress and
Thank
success
you
in
so
these different
much.
areas, despite everything that you have lived through. So when I read the article, I really had, I mean, Tears were running down my
Oh my
face.
gosh.
It made me so emotional.
Can I tell you something about that?
Sure.
And this is something my husband told me. So when I wrote when I like when I finally published the article, and I had it sitting for a while, but I picked the day we met, which was also my mom's 6 year anniversary of her passing,
Right.
and which was the perfect timing. But I also sat on it because I kept going back and forth. And when I published it, and you told me about you being emotional, and then you said the word, you wrote brilliant. Glenn was saying to me, "Do you remember when Regina like really like pretty much tore apart your resume because it wasn't authentic enough and you were just really pissed off?" And I was, because I was like, I met Regina, she's gonna like look at my, and I really worked on this resume, and you were like, it needs work. And I was like, so to go from that to writing an editorial piece featuring you and you calling it brilliant was like the chef's kiss for me. I just want, it meant a lot to me, Regina. And I will send you a new resume for you to check, see if I did any better.
Okay, yes. And I think, you're a great writer and you're
Thank
great
you.
structurally and everything, but it's usually it's about with my clients and I think you were no exception at the time. It's to they undervalue themselves in their resumes oftentimes. And that's what we want to focus on oftentimes. So I can't remember all the details, frankly, but I, I, I'm sure that was a part of it,
Well,
and
listen,
being able to do
we
research.
have two sessions pending, so we will
Yeah,
revisit
yeah,
the resume. Because let me tell you guys, if you're not one of Regina's clients, be one of Regina's clients, because she will make sure you go to all your sessions. I have sessions left over, and now we know what we're going to talk about.
exactly, exactly. And we can do those at some point when you had your health thing going on. But
Yes.
definitely will not, you will definitely will have those sessions. So, so looking forward to those. Okay, awesome. Now, I have so many more questions for you always. Now, let's talk about the creator concept a little bit, right? So, in the sense of creator, we're all creators, of course, but in the sense of creator that you are in this type of project. So, creators are increasingly seen as thought leaders, right? So, what responsibility comes with that people might be underestimating or neglecting?
The fact that if you're a true creator, we really do. If you're a legit, authentic creator, especially when it comes to truth, you do a lot of homework that people don't see. So I might put up a reel that might be 90 seconds, but that 90 seconds of time took me a lot of work. And I basically made it 90 seconds so that it's just enough for you to grab your attention, not to give you the answer to what you seek, but to help you think more. Because the whole point of like Legacy Bunker or Bunker Thoughts, which is something that I do, especially with like pop culture, media patterns, things of that nature. I'm not necessarily telling you what's going on because I think people seek answers from me, but I'm just like, you know what? I see this. I'm thinking this. Are you thinking it too? And it started off as just something I wanted just to do with, I think it was, what was it? It had to do with like Stanley Kubrick at first, and then with connections with Britney Spears, because Britney Spears is someone that I've been studying for decades, because there's been so many inconsistencies about her story throughout her entire career, and all these things happened to her that just don't make sense. And then
Yeah,
I
and we
realized that
sort of know why, but
yeah, we know,
right? But
we know, yeah.
it's an interesting study object for sure.
Definitely is. But then it opened me up to just other things. And I realized, wow, if so many things can connect it, because I can connect Britney to just about talk about these 6 degrees of separation with like Kevin Bacon back in the day. Forget that. Do Britney Spears, because you can literally connect her to anything. And then I realized like why. And that's like kind of part of a life, like a not a lifelong study, but that's probably gonna be my longest study of many. It's just like why her? Like why that person or why this icon? And yes, I think I know why, and I think others do too. I don't talk about it much because it
Yeah.
gets really controversial. But if you follow my page, if you know, you know. That's all. I have to say about that
Right.
piece.
Right. That would be a whole other podcast episode
Yes, and if you
or
guys want me back
series.
for that, let Regina know in the comments that you want me back for that.
Right. Okay. Right. So when everything is moving so fast as it is right now, right, with information, media, culture, expectations, how do you stay clear on what actually matters? Like in what you do now, Rachel?
So for me, I already feel like mentally like I'm ahead and I'm there. So I'm just me. I look at different content creators, even ones that do things that are similar to me, and they want a persona or they want a character, and I get it. Like we all want views, we all want to make money doing this. I totally get it. But for me, it's just like I just like to think on the fly and what's going on in my head right now. So I don't really think about that at all. I just think about what I just feel like putting out. And if people want to engage with me, that's cool. If they don't, that's fine. But those that know. And I feel like if I can just have meaningful conversations and dialogue, then I'm good with that. Like I'm happy.
Right. Right. Amazing. Yes. 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 Just this being you, it sounds like such a cliche, but it's so important. And sometimes we want to let go of old versions of ourselves, but really they are usually identities that we have taken on, and they're not the real you, the essence that's inside of us, and that's just really waiting to come out. And that oftentimes requires a little bit of courage, doesn't it?
It does. And my courage came in form of illness. I think in corporate, I thought I was as authentic as I could be, but you have to kind of limit yourself a little bit in corporate. It's a different world, but I was just I was so engulfed in that mindset that I started to forget like who I really was, even though like I didn't think I did. But when I think back, I'm like, wow, I really did lose a piece of myself temporarily. And I think that's why now, with all I've been through, whether it's grief, whether it's health, all that stuff, recovering, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna live my freaking amazing life like Regina. You know what I'm
Yay!
saying? Like,
Yes. All right. And you're building your legacy while living it.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, that'll be the title of this. I love it. So,
And the kids say, clock it. Isn't that
yeah,
what they say now?
I like that. Okay. Yeah, so you're building this legacy bunker, right? And a lot of people when they hear legacy, they just think about money or whatever. But what does legacy mean to you in real and practical terms? And not just as a
Yep.
concept, but within this legacy bunker.
Legacy, really simple: truth and storytelling. Period.
Okay. And truth being your truth, because there's really no
Yes.
general truth. I think we agree on that.
Yep. And it's my truth, but it's also the truth of whoever wants to join and share their truth, share
Mhm.
their knowledge, share their personal accounts of things in history. I
Mhm.
want it to be like a living time capsule of people just storytelling, and who knows what it can maybe end up being, like this like thousands and thousands of page book one day of people's personal accounts in history. Like I want, just for example, there's always a lot of conversations about people's, and I'm not talking about the conspiracy, just literally like, where were you on 9/11 when it happened? And especially being in the New York, New Jersey area, we all have so many different accounts of it. I have personal accounts through my parents, being in high school, seeing what was happening from my view at school, being in Hoboken at the time where I went to school. So even little things like that, I want people to just be able to pick a moment in time. Let's say I post about it, and then I just want people just to tell me what happened to them or what they felt or what they went through. I just want to
Well,
know. I love information that much.
well, it's also not just about saying, "Oh, this is the information." It's to me, if I may add that, Rachel, it's about questioning, right?
Yes,
Because we get presented with a story. Again, here's the word story again, but which we then are supposed or expected to swallow as a fact when most of the time it isn't.
yes,
And we're told we must believe this when no, it's actually the opposite. We must question it first.
absolutely.
And then, and really reflect on the situation, what makes even sense, what is even possible, like with this example that you mentioned, right? Is this even possible, what we're told? And then we start questioning, we start researching, we start creating our own conclusions from that, right?
Right.
Instead of just regurgitating and swallowing what we're told, which is how the masses are controlled and manipulated. Um,
Absolutely.
and once we do that, and more people do that, it's going to get much harder to manipulate the masses.
Yeah. So I
So,
think for
love it.
me, it's like,
Great tool.
I think honestly, like the legacy bunker is just a way to get out the matrix in a way
Yeah.
and
And
just
the
create
time cap, what did you say before? Time
time
capsule?
capsule.
I love that. I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, you should keep that.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so is there anything else? I mean, we could talk about so many things,
I know.
but what else would you like to share before we leave this conversation here today?
Before this conversation, like I said, if you are watching this, you are one of the first to know about the legacy bunker. I'll give the link to Regina so she can, if she wants to add it, she can, if you want to take a
Absolutely.
look. And so I would consider this a soft launch. A hard launch is coming soon. I'm just figuring out how I want to do it. And please, if you haven't, check out Tales of a Latina, hosted by Catherine Nunez, where I serve as co-executive producer. It's an amazing storytelling show. It's just, and it doesn't matter whether or not you want to watch it, if you want to listen to it on all your favorite, podcast stations, but really check it out. I think you'd really appreciate it. Whether you're on the beach chilling, you're at work, you want your little earpods in, but it's just honest conversations, just as beautiful as conversations as Regina has, just from a different perspective. And if y'all ain't listening and watching the Regina show, you need to, because it's amazing as well. And I think that again, and I mentioned Tales of Latina because we've even been able to collaborate podcast wise with distribution through Tales of Latina. So it's like it is about community. It's about supporting women, and just supporting each other as humans. So check it out if you haven't.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think
Thank
we
you.
need to come together again later on, maybe
Yes,
after the launch or around the launch time, we'll
that'll be
figure the
amazing.
time.
If you want to welcome me back, I would love to come back.
I think you will have so much to share, so I cannot wait for this to happen again.
Okay.
And yeah, absolutely. This has been awesome. And this conversation is exactly one of the reasons why I created this podcast in the first place. So thanks for being here. Thanks for
Thank
being
you so
so
much.
yeah, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for being so vulnerable, for agreeing to come on, for sharing so much with all of us and everyone else. Enjoy the rest of your week and tune in again next week when I'll be here again with another amazing guest. Your life looks successful on the outside, but doesn't feel right on the inside anymore. If you're done performing and ready to feel fully alive, go to transformyourperformance.com/success now what. If it resonates, we'll take it further together. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, share it, and join us next time.